Good morning, trainees. But before we begin, I am then already facilitating our learning sessions. I have checked our facilities, tools, and equipment that will be used in our training sessions. And I am also ready to use them when we provide the skill demonstrations for you. Now, we can start the training. Welcome to the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines, Cagayan de Oro Campus. Hello, I am Ms. Hannah ALFER YECYEC and I am your accredited trainer for this training program. Welcome to our training for electronic products assembly and servicing. But before we go to our proper training, let's start with a prayer. Amen. Now, let's check your attendance. Please say here when I call your name. ABDULLATIEFH.
ABDULLATIEFH here.
GRANDA.
Here.
VILLEGAS.
Here.
Okay, now let's start our orientation for competency-based training for electronic products assembly and servicing. We divided our topic into several parts. First, let's start with the definition of competency-based training. Second, the 10 principles of CBT. Third, role as a trainer. Fourth, role as a trainee. And the next one, the qualification. And the last one is competency-based learning materials or CBLM, which we will use in this training. So, any questions? Okay, let's go to the first topic, which is CBT. So, what is CBT? CBT stands for competency-based training. Ms. Villegas, can you please read the slide?
Competency-based training, or CBT, is a training delivery approach that focuses on the competency development of the learner as a result of the training. Competency-based training emphasizes on what learner can actually do, focuses on outcome rather than the learning process within specified time, is concerned with the attainment and application of knowledge, skills, and attitude to specific level of competency.
Okay, thank you. So, competency-based training is a method of training that focuses on a learner's ability to receive, respond to develop the skills, knowledge, and attitudes in order to achieve competency. So, do you have any questions? None? So, let's proceed to the next topic. Now, the 10 principles of competency-based training. CBT is based on the following basic principles. So the first principle is, the training is based on curriculum developed from the competency standards. The trainer should be aware that all training activities are done towards the attainment of assessment criteria set in the competency-based curriculum. Number 2. Learning is modular in its structure. One competency is generally considered as one module. Since learning is modular in instruction, a trainee should be competent in the module currently being trained before going to the other competency. Competency-based learning materials are prepared per competency, which shall serve as the main material and guide in training. Number 3. Training delivery is learner-centered and should accommodate individualized and self-paced learning strategies. Trainers are treated as individual learners with different characteristics, learning styles, and training needs. The sessions should therefore provide for varied activities employing different methods of training. Number 4. Training is based on work that must be performed. So training is always based on actual industry practices. Training should provide for a simulated work environment. Number 5. Training materials are directly related to the competency standards and curriculum modules. So the competency-based learning materials used during the training should conform to the competency-based curriculum and the competency standards. So the trainer should always check his session plans and CBLMs to make sure that all assessment criteria are attained. Number 6. Assessment is based in the collection of evidence of the performance of work to the industry-required standard. Assessment is done to test whether the trainee is able to perform the job based on the required criteria in the competency standards. This should be done before a trainee can advance to another competency. A carefully prepared institutional evaluation tool should be used to assess the competency of the trainee. Number 7. Training is based both on and off job components. Training is done in a simulated work environment or in an actual work environment such as in training camp production, enterprise-based training, supervised industry training, and on-the-job training. Number 8. Training program allows for recognition of prior learning RPL or current competencies. Current competencies acquired through training or work experience are recognized before training through a validation process so that the trainer can provide activities that match the learning level of each trainee. So prior learning is recognized by giving them certificate of achievement for the competencies acquired previously. Number 9. Training allows for multiple entry and exit. Trainees do not need to wait for the others to be competent before he can exit either a competency or the qualification. Fast learners may graduate faster than others. Number 10. All programs should be registered to the Unified TVET Program Registration and Accreditation System. UTPRES registration assures the quality of training. The competency-based TVET system recognizes various types of delivery modes, both on and off job, as long as the learning is driven by the competency standards specified by the industry. Okay, so let's proceed to the next topic, which is role as a trainer. Mr. ABDULLATIEFH, please read from 1 to 5 and Mr. GRANDA for 6 to 10.
Number 1. Serves as a team member to determine what is to be learned. Number 2. Stimulates trainees' motivation. Number 3. Manage learning, a consultation rather than a provider of information, a facilitator of the learning. Number 4. Diagnose and solves learning problems. Number 5. Evaluates student achievement.
Number 6. Assist learners to obtain individualized rewards. Number 7. Assist each trainee in designing a personalized plan of study. Number 8. Install confidence in the learners by providing experiences where learners may succeed. Number 9. Serves as a model of desirable works, habits, attitudes, and task performance in the occupational field. Number 10. Spends more time interacting with students on a one-on-one or small group basis.
Thank you. Also, my role as a trainer is to coordinate with learning activities in a CBT system and spend the major portion of training time given in demonstrations, assigning tasks to the trainees, evaluating trainees' progress, and providing individual consultations. Okay, let's move forward. Role as a trainee. Ms. Villegas, please read the role as a trainee from 1 to 5 and Mr. ABDULLATIEFH for 6 to 10.
Number 1. Select what they learn and when they want to learn it within reason. Number 2. Learn at their own rate with program guidelines. 3. May request to receive credit for what they already learned. 4. May choose how they want to learn individually on one-on-one basis, in small group, in a large groups, or within audiovisual. Number 5. Responsible for what they learn and when they learned it.
Number 6. Decide when they are ready to perform each task or demonstrate mastery of learning to a job-like level of proficiency before receiving credit for the task. Number 7. Develop personalized prescription for learning workout cooperatively and based upon what the student already knows his preference for learning style, and other needs. Number 8, compete against press job standards and not against other students, and are graded on achievement of the standard or criteria of each task. Number 9, know upfront before instruction begins what they are expected to know, and do not complete the program. Number 10, evaluate their own progress to see how well they are doing.
In addition, the role of the trainee is to pursue instructions for their personal goals and objectives. So, any questions?
None so far, ma'am.
So, let's proceed. Now, let's talk about qualification overview in electronic products assembly and servicing. So, electronic products assembly and servicing qualification consist of competencies that must possess to assemble electronic products, prepare printed circuit boards, modules, and to install and service consumer and industrial electronic products and systems. So, do you have any questions about the qualification overview? None? Okay. So, electronic products assembly and servicing. Here, the electronic products assembly and servicing consist of basic, common, and core competencies. Basic competencies. Number 1, participate in workplace communication. Number 2, work in team environment. Number 3, practice career professionalism. Number 4, practice occupational health and safety procedures. Common competencies. 1, apply quality standards. Number 2, perform computer operations. And number 3, perform mensuration and calculation. Number 4, prepare and interpret technical drawing. 5, use hand tools. 6, terminate and connect electrical wiring and electronic circuits. 7, test electronic components. So, core competencies. Number 1, assemble electronic products. Number 2, service consumer electronic products and systems. Number 3, service industrial electronic modules, products, and systems. Okay, next slide, CBLM. Let's go to the last part of our topic, the CBLM or competency-based learning material. So, what is CBLM? Competency-based learning materials or CBLM refer to number 1, media that contain information related to work requirement. Number 2, learning that is guided toward achievement the competency required in our workplace. Number 3, tools that facilitate individual learning processes. 4, instruments that measure the competency required in the workplace. So, any idea what is CBLM means?
It is a learning material that gives trainees detailed instruction to guide them through the learning process.
Very good. Exactly. So, CBLM is an instructional sheets that contain learning activities, self-checks, and immediate assessment or understanding based on what you have read in the information sheet. It also has answer key immediate feedback of your self-check. It has an operation sheet, task sheet, or job sheet to practice your skill and performance criteria checklist, which will be used to assess or evaluate your performance. We also have monitoring tools, progress chart. This chart is a monitor of the learning outcomes and competencies achieved by each trainee. It is displayed on a place within the training area frequented by the trainees. So, achievement chart. This chart is a monitor of the required project and activities, usually in the job sheets of the CBLM. So, this is our workshop layout. Kindly get your pen and paper and I will tour you to our workshop. So, contextual learning laboratory, the facility that ensures the underpinning knowledge in science, mathematics, and communication principles as applied to the technology. Next, learning resource area. This area provides the learner with the knowledge requirements in various modules responding to the competencies. The next one is quality control area, where various tests aside from metrology and calibration are conducted in this area in process quality control. Distance learning area. This area enables the learning provision outside and away from the training institution. Computer laboratory. This area depicts major physical change in the delivery, the use of the information technology. Support service area. This area provides values-adding competencies. Practical work area. An area where the earner acquires the skills and knowledge components of the competencies prescribed by the standard. Institutional assessment. This is where the recognition of the prior learning is done and where the institution of each competency. So, trainees, do you have any questions, suggestions, and clarification regarding with our workshop?
None so far, ma'am.
Okay, so now we are going to have the pre-assessment test. I have here the self-assessment checklist and data gathering tool for trainees' characteristics. I will be administering a data gathering instrument which will be used to determine your trainees' characteristics. Kindly answer this instrument as honestly as possible and you will be provided with 15 minutes to complete this form. Alright, is everyone finished? Okay, we will be evaluating the results of this instrument after our orientation proper. Now, I will be administering a pre-assessment to all of you. This is a 50-item test. I will give you 40 minutes, so please read the instructions carefully. You may start now. Are you done? Thank you. Trainees, you may take a 1-hour break. Welcome back, trainees. How is your break?
Good, ma'am.
I have here the result of your pre-assessment and based from that, Ms. KAYLA Beatrice Villegas has a prior learning of this qualification, but still in need to validate it. Please submit the evidence to me tomorrow. Would you like to recognize your prior learning?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. AL-NAJIEB ABDULLATIEFH, based on your result of your pre-assessment, you do not have yet enough knowledge of this qualification, so I advise you to start learning Content 1 and Review Assembly Workplace is prepared in accordance with the OH&S policies and procedures. Okay? Please be back tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock and bring your PPE. Please be ready for the prayer. Amen. Goodbye, trainees, and see you tomorrow. Keep safe and God bless. Good morning, trainees. Please rise for our prayer. Amen. Let's check your attendance. Please say here when I call your name. ABDULLATIEFH.
ABDULLATIEFH here.
GRANDA.
Here.
VILLEGAS.
Here.
To those who have prior learning, please submit to me your evidence.
Yes, ma'am.
So, it says here that you have 3 years of work experience at Advantech Philippines. So, would you like to take now the institutional assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
I have here your training activity matrix. This will be our guide throughout the training processes. For today, Ms. KAYLA Beatrice Villegas, you will be assigned at institutional assessment to validate your prior learning. And Mr. AL-NAJIEB ABDULLATIEFH will be assigned here in the contextual learning area. Mr. ABDULLATIEFH, based on the result of your pre-assessment yesterday, you do not have yet knowledge on this qualification, so I advise you to start with the first competency, which is assembly workplace. Mr. Nico, here is the CBLM. Please read all the information sheet starting from 1.1-1, answer the self-check. Compare your answer to the answer key. Practice the skill using the task sheet and job sheet at practical work area, station number 1, and evaluate your performance using the performance criteria checklist. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. I am more willing to help and assist you. Hello, Miss KAYLA Villegas. Are you ready to make the institutional assessment for the validation of your prior learning?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss KAYLA, given the necessary tool, material, and equipment, you should be able to demonstrate in accordance to occupational health and safety practices. You should be able to perform proper use of hand tools and test instruments, and you should be able to perform and identify the required tools, materials, and equipments used to assemble electronic products. So your time is up, Ms. Villegas. Take 10 minutes break for the oral questioning. Are you now ready for the oral questioning?
Yes, ma'am.
Define electronic components.
Electronic components are the basic building blocks of electronic system or electronic circuit.
Define resistor.
Resistor is a component that restricts the flow of electric current.
What is AC and DC stands for?
Direct current and alternating current.
Give 4 examples of personal protective equipment.
Hard gloves, face mask, goggles or apron.
Ms. Villegas, based on the evidence I gathered, you were able to perform proper use of hand tools and test instruments, and you were able to demonstrate in accordance to occupational health and safety practices, and also perform well in assemble electronic products. I will now award you the Certificate of Achievement in the Unit of Competency 1 Assembly Workplace. I will now update the achievement chart and progress chart to monitor your progress. With that, I congratulate you for being competent in one of the unit of competency. May I ask you to assist Mr. ABDULLATIEFH in the unit of competency 1 Assembly Workplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please proceed to the contextual learning area. How are you, Mr. GRANDA? Are you ready for the institutional assessment?
Not yet, ma'am.
Do you want me to discuss the learning materials on assembly workplace?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please proceed to the practical work area and wait for me there. Ms. Villegas, thank you for assisting Mr. ABDULLATIEFH. Ms. Villegas, would you like to continue with the next unit of competency, preparing to make PCB modules?
Yes, ma'am.
Here is the CBLM. Please read all the information sheet starting from 2.1-1. Answer the self-check. Compare your answers to the answer key. Practice the skill using the task sheet and job sheet at Practical Work Area Station number 1. And evaluate your performance using the performance criteria checklist. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. I am more willing to assist you. Did you get it, Ms. Villegas?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready now for the institutional assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
You may take your 10 minutes break and be ready for your institutional assessment. How are you, Mr. ABDULLATIEFH? Are you ready for the institutional assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. ABDULLATIEFH, given the necessary tool, material, and equipment, you should be able to demonstrate in accordance to the occupational health and safety practices. You should be able to perform proper use of hand tools and test instruments. And you should be able to perform and identify the required tools, materials, and equipment used to assemble electronic products. Your time is up, Mr. ABDULLATIEFH. Take 10 minutes break for the oral questioning. Are you now ready for the oral questioning, Mr. ABDULLATIEFH?
Yes, ma'am.
Define electronic component.
Electronic components are the basic building blocks of electronic system or electronic circuit.
Define resistor.
A resistor is a component that restricts the flow of electric current.
What is AC and DC stands for?
Direct current and alternating current.
Give for example of personal protective equipment.
A hand gloves, a face mask, a goggles, apron.
Mr. Abdulatif, based on the evidences I gathered, you were able to perform proper use of hand tools and test instruments, and you were able to demonstrate in accordance to occupational health and safety practices, and also perform well in assembled electronic products. I will now award you the Certificate of Achievement in the Unit of Competency 1 Assembly Workplace. I will now update the achievement chart and progress chart to monitor your progress. With that, I congratulate you for being competent in one of the unit of competency. Mr. Abdulatif, would you like to continue with the next unit of competency preparing to make PCB modules?
Yes, ma'am.
Here is a CBLM. Please read all the information sheet starting from 2.1-1, answer the self-check, compare your answer to the answer key, practice the skill using the task sheet and job sheet at practical work area station number 1, and evaluate your performance using the performance criteria checklist. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. I am more willing to assist you. Do you get it, Mr. Abdulatif?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready now for the institutional assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Granada, given the necessary tool, material, and equipment, you should be able to demonstrate in accordance to occupational health and safety practices. You should be able to perform proper use of hand tools and test instruments. You should be able to perform and identify the required tools, materials, and equipments used to assemble electronic products. Your time is up, Mr. Granada. Take 10 minutes before the oral questioning. Are you now ready for the oral questioning?
Yes, ma'am.
Define electronic component.
Electronic components are the basic building blocks of electronic system or electric circuit.
Define resistor.
Resistor is a component that restricts the flow of electric current.
What is AC and DC stands for?
Direct current and alternating current.
Give 4 examples of personal protective equipment.
Hand gloves, face masks, goggles, and apron.
Mr. Granada, based on the evidences I have gathered, you were able to perform proper use of hand tools and test instruments, and you were able to demonstrate in accordance to occupational health and safety practices, and also perform well in assembled electronic products. I will now award you the Certificate of Achievement in the Unit of Competency 1 Assembly Workplace. I will now update the achievement chart and progress chart to monitor your progress. With that, I congratulate you for being competent in one of the unit competency. Mr. Granada, would you like to continue with the next unit of competency preparing to make PCB modules?
Yes, ma'am.
Here is the CBLM. Please read all the information sheet starting from 2.1-1, answer the self-check, compare your answer to the answer key, practice the skill using the task sheet and job sheet at practical work area station number 1, and evaluate your performance using the performance criteria checklist. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask me. I am more willing to assist you. Did you get it, Mr. Granada?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you ready now for the institutional assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Villegas, I will now administer the post-test. It is a 30-minute test. You are given 30 minutes to finish the test. Read the instruction carefully. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Pass your paper. Please give me a moment to check your paper, and while waiting for the result of your post-test, may I ask you to evaluate our training?
Yes, ma'am.
Based on the result of your post-test, you got 28/30. You improved a lot. With that, I congratulate you for completing the training for the entire qualification. I will now award you the Certificate of Accomplishment. I'd advise you to go to the nearest assessment center and schedule your national assessment at your most convenient time. That ends our demonstration. The remaining trainees will undergo the same process because one of the principles of CBT is multiple entries and exit.